Hey YouTubers and Patriots, Voice of the Composer here. Welcome back to my channel. It's Thursday night. And you know something? I tend to take myself way too seriously here on the channel. So I figured tonight I'd kick back, relax, have some fun. I'm enjoying my pipe and my coffee. By the way, what do you think of the graphic? Nail the SOB? Come on now, you know that's exactly what the BLM, Antifa, SJW crowd was thinking when they read the verdict in this George Floyd show trial. They found him guilty on all three counts as though he was three people. He was found guilty of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and manslaughter, or manslaughter in the second degree. Guilty on all three counts. And you know that these people were popping champagne in the streets. But I'll tell you what I think. I don't think this had anything to do with Derek Chauvin, or George Floyd for that matter. I really think this was payback for what happened in 2015 with Michael Brown. Because it came out a few days ago that the DOJ is going to investigate the practices of the Minneapolis Police Department. Now, where have you heard that before? Oh, yeah, 2015, Michael Brown, Ferguson, Missouri. Ring a bell? Nothing happens in a vacuum, folks. Nothing happens in a vacuum. And did you see Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Pad Waters? Maxine, as I call her. Maxine Waters. But here you have Nancy Pelosi going out there and thanking George Floyd for dying for the sake of fighting racism. As though Nancy Pelosi was going to have lunch with George Floyd before he died. Nancy Pelosi and her pancake makeup, fake eyebrows, and QVC jewelry. Give me a break. And you had Maxine Waters, going out there and saying, if they don't find Derek Chauvin guilty on all these charges, we're going to be confrontational or get more confrontational. No politician has any business commenting, including the President of the United States and the Vice President. They have no business commenting or getting involved with a court case, a local court case. Now, yes, this case has gotten a lot of national attention. Everyone's seen the video. And I have a theory to throw out there. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. It's just a theory. So before any of you go to Twitter and say, ooh, there's some guy on YouTube who's got this crackpot theory that the George Floyd incident never happened, let me explain. Do that here in just a moment. But no politician, whether it's the president or Maxine, should be getting involved in a local case. This should be handled in Minneapolis, Hennepin County. And BLM and Antifa, you do not get to decide. Did I say decide? You do not get to decide. No. That's actually what it sounded like the other night at this presser with George Floyd's brother, Floyd. Is that his first name? Felonious? And he brought up Emmett Till. I mean, it looked like a church service. And I got to say something. Please. What is up with the bad hair with you leftists? I notice this when you're on TV. You always got really weird hairdos, or the hair's always messed up. Your clothes don't fit right. They don't match. Look like you have to head to the bathroom in the next 2 minutes, so get this interview over with. Like I said, I'm having a lot of fun tonight, folks. I'm cracking on everybody, right? No, but seriously, folks, no politician should be getting involved with any local case. They need to keep their mouth shut and let the system play out and do its thing. Because here's what happened. We had jurors that were being pressured to make this decision. 10 hours of deliberation with these three charges, very serious charges. It takes more than 10 hours to come to a verdict. And generally speaking, because I was watching an episode of Ben Shapiro, and he had a defense lawyer on there, Misty Maris, and she said, generally speaking, you would have a juror to ask a question, jury as a whole, if there's something that comes up where there's something that they don't understand in the instructions or something that they need to clarify with the evidence in the case, they will generally ask a question. But 10 hours of deliberation, no questions asked to either side, There's just a question there. And here's the other thing I don't get. Why was the city of Minneapolis giving the Floyd family $26 million, a $26 million settlement, before jurors were even selected for the trial? But this presser the other night with George Floyd's brother, man, it looked like a church service. You're going to bring up Emmett Till, and it really shows what they're after. Because as soon as they left Minneapolis, as soon as this is over, because a year from now, nobody's going to know who George Floyd is. They're going to be asking, George who? Some people will remember him, but for the most part, he's going to be a distant memory. Because they were moving on to Columbus. Did you see this? You have this girl, 15, 16 years old in Columbus, Ohio, who was wielding a knife. She was trying to attack another woman. And the cops are called. Cops arrived. They told the woman to drop the knife. She wouldn't do it. She kept going after this girl. So they shot the girl with the knife. They had to make a split second decision. Tell you what, the mouth is dry tonight, and it's like I said, I'm in a good mood. So if the words come out wrong, I don't care. I'm having fun. This is the way it should be here on YouTube. People have gotten so wound up in this country right now, they don't know how to relax and have fun. And I'm thinking about doing this video tomorrow. What do you think? In real time, have you watch me work on a piece of music, because I need some inspiration. I've been struggling through this last section of this symphony I'm working on. If you've been following the series, you know I'm an amateur composer. I write music in my spare time. So I have a day job. And I love talking about music by lesser-known composers. I want to preserve our history and culture as Americans. Those are the themes of the channel. And when you've got a situation like the George Floyd case, I have to talk about it because it is relevant to the channel. It's our culture. I know everything in this culture is being seen as racist, as a form of white supremacy. And this came out a while ago. Probably about a month ago, there was a story about Oxford, where Oxford University was saying that sheet music is a form of white supremacy. No, sheet music is used by musicians all the time so they know what they're playing. I mean, you wouldn't want 50 musicians or 60 musicians in an orchestra if it's a small orchestra. Larger orchestra usually have about 100 players, if more. But you wouldn't want all these musicians on stage in an orchestra, or let's say even a rock band, sitting there playing 5 different tunes at once, not knowing where anybody's going in the piece, so they have to have some way to communicate that idea. Well, you do that through sheet music or through chord charts. That's how you do it. It has nothing to do with white supremacy. But this is how stupid our society has become. And I can't get it. Now, I've got to share this. I was looking at one of ABL's YouTube videos he just posted about Nancy Pelosi thanking George Floyd. The expression on it, you got to see this, folks. The moment I saw this, I cracked. I was almost on the floor. I was rolling over in laughter. It was so funny, the expression on his face. And it was perfect for that, for the thumbnail for his video. Absolutely perfect. Because it's one of those moments. That's what's going on in the country right now. So you got people moving from Minneapolis after the George Floyd trial to Columbus, Ohio, after this incident where this teenage girl, 15, 16 years old, tries to attack another woman with a knife. And unfortunately, she was shot and killed because the cops told her to stop. She wouldn't do it. And now they're calling the cop in this case in Columbus, Ohio. You have this incident with LeBron James, who tweeted out, "You're next." Later, he took down the tweet. I think he finally came to the fact that when you put out something that says "You're next" and there's a picture of a police officer, that can be considered a threat to a police officer, which is against the law. But now they're calling this cop a white supremacist, a racist, and yet the person's life he saved happened to be African American. This is the level of stupidity you're dealing with the BLM Antifa SAW crowd. Now, I'm not talking about those of you who have a legitimate concern about race relations in the country. And I think originally when BLM started out, they had good intentions. When we had the Michael Brown incident play out, I think there was, but when the looting and rioting started, you knew that it wasn't these people who had legitimate concerns about race relations in the country or relationships between minorities and policing, or the police. It was these rent-a-mobs that come from out of town. And these cities need to crack down on this. Why are you people so afraid to kick these people out of your city or knock some heads together? Look, I'm not asking for you to go back to do what they did during the Democratic Convention in 1968, for goodness sakes. But come on now. You can't let these people just rule the roost in your city and burn everything to the ground. So it's just crazy, folks. It's just crazy. It's like a freak show is what it is. It's a freak show. And it's not going away anytime soon. So what else can I talk about in the video tonight? Like I said, I'm just kicking back, relaxing. Anything that comes to mind, we'll talk about it. Well, we have this incident Sunday in Chicago. This is real. I have to talk about this. Because this is what really irritated me about the George Floyd case. When the verdict was read. Sunday afternoon, you had a beautiful 7-year-old African-American child that was gunned down by gang members, sitting in the back seat of a car. She was with her dad, who had taken her to McDonald's. So they're, I think, in the drive-thru at this McDonald's in Chicago, gunned down by gang members. She didn't survive. Where is the justice for her? And I saw a picture of this child. I wish I could be her uncle. Beautiful 7-year-old kid who had a lot of love in her heart. She had the most radiant smile in these photos. And it's so heartbreaking to see that. So heartbreaking to see somebody 7 years old had their life snuffed out because the people in Chicago are turning a blind eye to the gang violence. And the father of the child, who just lost his child, his daughter, he's in the hospital, I believe, with serious injuries. When is it going to stop, folks? When is it going to stop? Now, I got to share the story about last weekend because it was a really dead weekend at work. And it was eerily quiet, and I mentioned that in a previous video. Actually, it was a video I did that night on the overnight shift. Talking about how I was bored. I was talking about the George Floyd case. So this is all before the verdict broke. But that Saturday night, I'm sitting there, minding my own business, working on whatever for the overnight shift. And all of a sudden I hear this rumble. Sounds like either somebody's motorcycle is going outside or somebody started a big rig. Next thing you know, there's death metal playing in the bar. Nobody's in the bar. It's pitch dark. So I had to call my property manager, general manager. That's a lot of fun to do that in the middle of the night. They don't want to be awakened at, 3 in the morning. So she told me, go in the bar, you'll find a remote. It's in one of these baskets by the register. So here I am going into the bar, unlocking the bar, and it's pitch black. I can't see worth a damn. You got death metal playing. I mean, louder than you can believe. And I finally found the remote and shut it off, and that was it. But it got me thinking that jukebox, that situation is symbolic of what's going on in the country now with BLM, Antifa, these SJW types. It really is, folks. Because how long are you going to let these people scream? At some point, you got to turn them off. You got to tune them out. You got to grab the remote and say, enough is enough. Click. That's what you got to do. Problem solved. But the people in these large cities, the leadership, they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. I just don't understand it. So if you enjoy the video or the series, please click that like button, subscribe, hit me up on Instagram at hashtag Jason Composes, leave comments below. Now you can reach me at Twitter, Voice of the Composer at Twitter. So, I really think tomorrow I will turn on the camera and have you watch me work on this piece of music that I'm writing in real time. Now, you may not be into classical music, may not be into jazz. I love classical and jazz. Actually, I like a little bit of Chet Atkins and people like Roy Clark. I'll go as far as a group like Wide Mouth Mason. They're from Canada, if you're familiar with that group. That's about as far as I go. But I'm not into death metal or heavy metal or anything like that. But I just want to give you this message. Things may seem bleak right now. They may seem really bleak. But I don't want you to fear. Because better times are ahead of us, folks. They really are. And all it takes is somebody to stand up and say, no, you're not going to loot, right, and burn down the city. You're not going to intimidate us. This is not a racist country. And we're going to do our best to protect our history and our culture as Americans. Now, this is something that really got on my nerves when I was looking at some comments or interacting with some people online. Somebody made the comment that, well, now that we have the George Floyd verdict, all you Confederate flag lovers, Trump supporters, you patriot, whoever, if you're not a leftist or whatever, you can just put everything in the dustpan of history and you can start crying your tears. Start shedding some tears because it's over. You lost. And I thought to myself, does this person not even know that in 1860, and this will give you an insight to the South in 1860, the time period, and show you that it was not as racist as everybody thinks it was, because at that time you still had slavery in states like New Jersey, and there were about 400 or so slaves in Santa Fe in 1867. That's 2 years after the Civil War, and slave labor was still legal in most states. In fact, I mentioned this in a video way back, that in 2018, Colorado was the last state to officially become a free state because slave labor was still allowed on their books. They hadn't taken out the language, or what they call quote-unquote slave language, off the books yet. But in 1860, I got to tell you the story. There was a case in Florida. That's where I was born and raised. But there was a case in Florida where you had a slave by the name of, I believe, Cantor. And the name of the case was Cantor, the slave, plaintiff in error versus the state. And it was a rape trial. And the judge, get this, 1860, on the eve of the Civil War, just before the implementation of Jim Crow. The judge said this in the case. He said, yes, this is a slave or an African American, but he, and I'm just paraphrasing here, he will be treated, according to the law, the same way that a white man would be treated in this trial. See, folks, I can't talk today. Mouth's dry. It's just, I'm having fun. I'm just saying it as it comes, okay? But that's what this judge said in this trial in 1860. So was the South really all that racist if you still have pockets of slavery in the country? No, I don't think so. Because you had other groups that were lumped into the same categories or category as African Americans. That include the Irish, the Italians, the poor English, the Scottish, the Polish, the Czechs. All those groups were lumped into the same category. The Irish were treated horribly in this country. They were treated terribly by the British. They were starved at gunpoint during the potato famine by the British. So I don't want to drone on and on here. And I wish I could have an all-night party tonight, but I can't do that. I've actually got to do the overnight shift tomorrow night at work. So my weekend's going to be done tonight, and then it's back to work tomorrow night. But I really think I will sit down and do this video in real time tomorrow, where I have you watching me work on this piece of music, because it's like therapy for me. It's going to give me encouragement to work on this piece of music, and that's what I want you to do. I want you to be encouraged to work on whatever project, whether you write a piece of music or you paint or you draw, whatever it is. If you're thinking about starting a business, I want you to go for it. Contribute to this society. Make your community better. Be a positive influence, because that's the only way, actually that is the real way to fight racism. It's not looting and rioting or burning down a city. It's not constantly complaining about racism. Oh, by the way, before I go, I've got I'll leave you with this. 3 rules for BLM Antifa SJWs now that you won in the George Floyd trial. Here are the 3 rules. Number 1, because you won in this case, you are no longer allowed to say that the system is rigged or stacked against you or minorities. Number 2, you can no longer talk about slavery and demand reparations. And number 3, you're not allowed to loot and riot in the name of social justice. So we'll leave it there, folks, tonight. Once again, you like the video of the series, please click that like button. Subscribe. Hit me up on Instagram at #JasonComposes. Leave comments below, and now you can reach me at Twitter, Voice of the Composer Twitter, but it may come up as @ComposerVoice. Either way, you'll find me. And once again, thank you for supporting the series. Voice of the Composer saying peace out. I'll catch you next time. Stay safe, everybody, and God bless this great country.